Hi everyone, my name is Carla and I'm a software engineer at Lightning Labs. Today I'm going to give you a technical overview of the role of the Lightning Network in enhancing financial freedom. If we're going to talk about Lightning, we need to start off by talking about Bitcoin and why it is the right choice for promoting financial freedoms across the globe. In this industry, there are lots of coins that make lots of claims about their ability to scale and their flashy feature sets. While these coins may seem the same as Bitcoin on the surface, mimicking its properties of fixed supply caps and claiming similar levels of decentralization, in practice they are very different. One of the things that sets Bitcoin apart is its ethos of conservative development. This may seem counterintuitive in a field that is considered to be cutting edge, but in reality, development of Bitcoin software moves very slowly. The Bitcoin developer community is also focused on ensuring that changes to Bitcoin software are backwards compatible, or soft forks. This means that somebody who is running an older version of the software does not need to upgrade to still be able to use it. Maintaining backwards compatibility is an important component of accessibility because we do not want to require users to have the resources or the technical know-how to upgrade just to be able to use this technology. The community also strongly values getting social consensus on major changes to the protocol. Getting a large group of opinionated strangers on the internet to agree with one another is not an easy task, yet it is necessary to ensure that the network upgrades without disruption. These characteristics are important when you're dealing with money. If we're going to ask some of the more vulnerable people on the planet to trust this technology, we need to be assured that their funds are protected. If you self-custody your coins in Bitcoin today, you can be confident that in 10 years' time, those coins will be safe and you will be able to access them in the same way as today. Another strongly held value in Bitcoin development is the prioritization of decentralization. When developers make changes to the protocol, they are mindful of the bandwidth, storage, and computational resources that this change will require. By keeping the resources required to access the network low, Bitcoin encourages running of decentralized validating nodes, which strengthen the network and ensure that it will remain accessible to lower income individuals. The importance of decentralization is clear when we look at Bitcoin's history of defending against interest group. In 2017, a small group of individuals who ran profitable Bitcoin companies decided to support a change to the protocol, which would double the block size in order to improve transaction throughput. This would double the bandwidth and storage requirements to run a Bitcoin node, which in turn would increase the barrier to entry for the network, potentially compromising its degree of decentralization. The Bitcoin community rallied against this change, and this interest group was forced to back down. Bitcoin is a system of code rules, not rulers. There is no single interest group or individual who can change these rules or who can be pressured into doing so. And if we need this technology for what it's truly built for, which is to stand up to some of the most powerful governments on this planet, only Bitcoin and its ethos of decentralization will do. Bitcoin's decentralized censorship-resistant properties make it a good fit for providing financial access to millions who are excluded by our current system. However, the Bitcoin blockchain on its own cannot scale to this level of adoption. The first reason why is that Bitcoin has a limit on the number of transactions it processes at a time. Bitcoin commits to transactions in the global ledger in entities called blocks, which are limited to 1 megabyte of transactions at a time. Since these blocks are of limited size, transactions bid for space within a block by paying fees, and the highest fee transactions are most likely to be included in the next block. This process forms a fee market for Bitcoin where transactions bid more to be included. During periods of high usage, this market is very competitive, and transactions can pay upwards of $80 to get into the next block. Further, these blocks arrive on average every 10 minutes, which means that if you want to transact on the Bitcoin base layer, you'll need to wait up to 10 minutes for your transaction to be added to the global ledger, which is not ideal for day-to-day transactions. I'd like to emphasize that both of these limitations are intentionally in place with the aim of keeping the Bitcoin blockchain decentralized. If we increase the size of the blocks, these larger chunks of data would take longer to propagate around the globe and require more computational resources to be validated. Likewise, if we sped up the rate at which these blocks are produced, devices would need more processing power to validate the blocks and keep up with the latest block in the chain. Instead of bloating the resources required to run a node and compromising the decentralization of the network, the Bitcoin community has chosen to scale in layers, which is a very common software engineering best practice. The Lightning Network is a layer 2 solution to scaling Bitcoin, which sits above the Bitcoin base chain or layer 1. Bitcoin's layer 1 has no knowledge of the existence of the Lightning Network, while the Lightning Network is aware of the underlying base chain and may rely on it for security. The Lightning Network achieves scale using a construct called a Lightning Channel, which is simply a pot of money that two parties can use to transact with. A Lightning Channel is established on layer 1 by signing a transaction that commits funds to collaborative control and broadcasting that transaction as you would any other Bitcoin transaction. Say Alice and Bob wanted to create a Lightning Channel. They would do so by signing a 2 of 2 multi-sig, meaning that only the two of them can spend those funds together. If Alice contributes 1 Bitcoin and Bob none, the transaction will send 1 Bitcoin into their collaborative control and be confirmed on the base chain. They then reflect their current balance, which is the 1 Bitcoin owed to Alice and the 0 owed to Bob, by signing a transaction that spends from the one they have just broadcast on-chain, paying each out their respective balance. This spending transaction is not immediately broadcast to the Bitcoin network, but rather held by each party on layer 2. Since these transactions are simple Bitcoin transactions and make no use of other tokens, they know that they can broadcast them at any time to layer 1 to reclaim their funds. To transact on Lightning, all Alice and Bob need to do is update this spending transaction. The Lightning Network uses an update mechanism that ensures that only the latest state can be broadcast, so both parties are safe to continue to hold the new transaction off-chain without having to trust their counterparty. In our example, say Alice wants to send 0.2 Bitcoin to Bob. They can just update their spending transaction to reflect that Alice now only has 0.8 Bitcoin and Bob has 0.2. This spending transaction can be updated near endlessly, with both parties choosing to continue to hold it off-chain on layer 2. If Alice or Bob decide that they would like to exit the Lightning Network, either party can do so by simply broadcasting their spending transaction on layer 1. This spending transaction will be confirmed on layer 1, spending from their original transaction and paying out each party the balance that they are due. The Lightning Network can achieve great scale by keeping these spending transactions on layer 2 and not broadcasting them, allowing parties to transact many times without having to pay new on-chain fees per transaction. Once the original transaction is established on-chain, the updated spending transactions can also be updated any times, which means that you can transact on Lightning instantly without needing to wait for new blocks to come in. Further, parties only need to pay the on-chain fees for their opening transaction on layer 1 and for their closing transaction when they choose to settle out on layer 1. Sometimes Lightning channels remain open for years, so these fees can be aggregated across thousands of Lightning channels, making it much cheaper to transact than the base chain. The Lightning Network consists of thousands of these channels established between parties across the globe without trust. It further achieves the scale I've covered in the two-party case by allowing any individuals on the network to send payments through a path of channels in exchange for a small fee to reach other participants on the network with no need for an expensive on-chain transaction. Thank you for listening and for your interest in using this technology to promote financial freedoms. If you are interested in learning more about the technical side of things, please head over to docs.lightning.engineering for more information.